Disco. Perhaps that is the most divisive word in the history of American music. For different people, it means different things. For some, it represents the carefree wistfulness of the me decade, when bubbles, glitter, and roller skates ruled the dance floor. For others, it's a synonym for the utter garbage that dominated airwaves and put skilled musicians out of business. Famously, on July 12, 1979, the Chicago White Sox hosted Disco Demolition Night, where fans were asked to bring disco records that would be blown up between games of a doubleheader. Comiskey Park was filled well beyond capacity that night, despite the fact that the White Sox had been playing so badly that they were essentially out of contention. The explosion actually rendered the field unplayable for the second game, and the White Sox forfeited. The fans didn't care. They were most interested in following the lead of local radio personality Steve Dahl in condemning the entire disco genre. Not to be confused with funk soul or the Motown sound that rightfully held a place in the hearts of many Americans, what people commonly referred to as disco was drum machine-driven, ultra-repetitive sterile dance-first music that its haters thought was gaining way too much traction in nightclubs from coast to coast. Songs like YMCA by the Village People and The Hustle by Van McCoy were capturing mainstream airtime and bringing in millions of dollars for record companies seeking to find the next conforming disco sensation rather than go out on any musical limbs. Naturally, when mainstream culture gets a bit too stagnant, a counterculture will form. It has happened time and time again in American society, whether it was led by the Bob Flappers of the Roaring Twenties, the leather jacket and jeans-wearing juvenile delinquents of the 1950s, or the flower children of the Summer of Love. Young people in America were and are constantly on the hunt for an alternative to the mainstream culture being forced upon them. In the 1970s, this was especially true in New York, where opulent Manhattan clubs like Studio 54 glamorized disco and the culture of decadence and materialism that went along with it. Diamond jewelry and expensive fur coats became just as much a part of the genre as repeating drum beats and roller skates. Fortunately, the perfect alternative had already been brewing in parts of New York City for a few years. Hip-hop, in its infancy, had more similarities with disco than differences, but it came from a spirit of rebellion and fun that was unique. As hip-hop grew into one of the top forces in American pop culture, its artists became symbols of 21st century decadence and materialism. In the 1970s, though, the music was made solely for the enjoyment of those who produced it.